The books are for sale, and it's a great price, and it's a good read. The narrative scenes and the local color, as someone raised in West LA, Westwood, Santa Monica and Westwood Boulevard, not the snooty part on Aspiration. There's the name dropping of the places and the Big Sur feeding and the camping, are always amusing to me. But where is our fantastic illustrator who is now going to join us? Because when you get your copy of the book, there are cats, and cats cross planes, living and dead, among others. And so the illustrations that Keith has done are fantastic. More of his work is available over in the Grove Zone, which is a very beautiful metaphysical story by a person who laments that in earlier days of our religions, angels and saints were frequent visitors among the folks living on this planet. So, on we go. Keith, you want to introduce yourself at all, or say what made you want to do these drawings?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'd always loved comic strips, and I started taking classes over here in Carmel Adult School at Sunset Center with somebody that maybe some of you know, a wonderful lady named Nancy Johnson. Some of you remember her. She was a fine art teacher. So I learned to draw from her. I told her I wanted to be a cartoonist, but she said, well, if you learn to draw, it'll be more exciting for you. So I had to agree with her on that. But I loved working with Patricia here. The drawings were pen and ink, crow quill, and I think some of the covers were linoleum cuts that I did. And I had to make the illustrations very readable and well designed because they were reduced quite small. So that was something that I was good at when I was doing magazine cartoons. At one time there were a lot of magazines out there. Every profession had a magazine. And so I think the first cartoon I sold was to the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers in Cleveland. And then I did a lot of teaching cartoons and for businesses. Once in a while my former wife would come home with a gag from the office. Somebody had done something, I'd make it into a cartoon. And when it was published, I'd say, go show that person, sometimes they liked it, sometimes they didn't, but I ended up in Cosmopolitan sometimes and writing for the Frank and Ernest Sunday Pages, comic strip, syndicated comic strip. So at least the book I did is about Pacific Grove, and not really about Pacific Grove, but the setting is Pacific Grove. Yes?
Didn't you illustrate Patricia Hamilton's books on Pacific Grove?
Yes, I did.
They're really nice.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoyed working for Patricia Hamilton too. And we did, gosh, I don't know how many books. We did a coloring book, we did Life in Pacific Grove and some other things, yeah. I love doing that too, so.
How would you get your contact in Cleveland, early on?
Well, that was a system that there was another cartoonist here that I learned this system from, and what I would do is I'd send a brochure out, and it would say, of my work, I'm a cartoonist, and do you use cartoons for your publication? And if so, please send me your publication back and I'll send you some cartoon ideas. And so I would send this out all over. I'd go to the library, I'd get the addresses from I forget the Writers Market, things like that, Artist Market, and then I'd send these out. And I would get the publications back, and then I would have to think of ideas that were, that I thought a business person would find humorous, or a railroad worker, or sometimes they would give me the ideas they wanted me to draw, and I just do what they wanted. So I liked doing that. I liked finding out about different people and their jobs and everything, and then coming up with something that they could find humorous. Yeah.
With this particular novelty, did you read the novel first to get the inspiration of what to do, or did Reese say maybe we need something at this particular chapter? How did you incorporate your talent with her talent?
Well, I work differently than publishers work, because publisher will get a story in and then assign artist. And the artist will read the story and then come up with what they think. They won't work with the writer. That's generally how it's done. But I just, Patricia was very much involved in specifically what she would like, and then sometimes she provided some photographs and things like that I could come up with a sketch. And that was fine with me, to do it that way. So that's how I worked with her. And you had something else you wanted to say?
Was this all in the beginning pre-internet and all that?
No, there was internet at that time, yeah.
Uh-huh.
This
Yeah.
time, not railroad time.
When I started, no, there was no internet. There was,
So you had to mail it.
yeah, everything was by mail.
Wow.
And it used to be, in New York, I was never part of this, but the cartoonists would take their portfolio around to the magazine's editors, and they would leave their roughs there, and then they would come, it was on Wednesday, they had a special thing they called it, but it was always on Wednesday, and they would come back to the magazines, and then they would get the okays for the rough, and then they would do a finish, and then bring it back to the magazine.
Wow.
Yeah. Didini was a very nice man, just a wonderful human being. I was introduced to him by Dick Crispo, another artist here, muralist.
Oh, Mike, a little further in there.
Huh?
Mike's a little close to your mouth.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I came over to Didini's house on a very not good day. It was, he had just come from the post office. Hugh Hefner had scribbled something on one of his roughs. It wasn't, it wasn't very complimentary, and he was not very happy that day. However, I always remember he was nice to me. He was very gracious, even though something had happened that wasn't good. And he was just a very gracious man. And so was Gus Arriola.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I guess you knew Bill Bates, too.
I did. I took classes from him. He was over at Sunset Center at one time. He was very proud of the fact that he used these different gray felt pens. And at that time, when you had a shades of gray in the newspaper, there was a special camera process that you had to go through to get that. And he was, the ones that he did for the pine cone, used those gray felt pens, different shades, and he was just always very proud of the way those things came out. So, yeah.
When you're illustrating a book, do you, before the finished product is finished, do you have any influence on the editorial and redos on the editorial side, or any comments that you would give based on what you want to do with your illustrations on how things should end or how you see it?
Well, so I do rough first in pencil, and then if I'm working with Patricia or I'm working with Patricia Hamilton on the books, we go through the roughs, and if there's something they really want or I really want, we can discuss it before I do a finish. Now with computers, you put it on a computer, you can clean it up really easy and all that stuff, but I never really got into that. I do things by hand mostly.
But when you're doing it though, does that sometimes create the writer to change her editorial?
Oh, I don't think that happened.
Well, she's sitting right there, let's ask her.
Did that happen?
No, because what was really interesting, I think, about the art that I requested was, as you read the book or any of the other books, they're very site-specific, place-related. Locations are very important in these books. So I was always requesting a certain specific location. And sometimes I might find a photograph or a picture of it, or Keith might, that he knew of, and that's kind of how we did it. And then what was really fun was we, not in this book and not in the first book, but in the second, third, and fourth book, there are maps. There's like, if you go into the Foundation Library, even right here, those 3 books are here, and you open, and it's like a double-sided, or, you know, like a
2-page.
2-page map of the locations, all the locations in the book. And then, as you go through the book, you see those locations at the chapter headings. So then you can go back and say, look at the map and say, oh, here we are, this is how this exists in relation to that, when the characters are moving around, you can follow them around on the map. So I loved the maps that Keith made, and it was, again, required you to put a lot of detail places into only 2 pages,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's where learning to draw and learning to design in black and white makes a difference when the illustrations have to be reduced quite small. So I was getting pretty good at that with magazines, because that was the same deal. Single panel magazines were single panel cartoons and magazines were mostly small, you know. So it was good that I had learned how to do that. Black and white. It wasn't much color in those days.
Did you, I'll raise my hand first. Did you use old photographs? I have a friend who keeps sending me, sharing on Facebook, old time Los Angeles or old time San Francisco. And they said, so you can find, sometimes she likes to go to fancy restaurants sometimes, or cute one, classic ones. Would she give you enough clues as to what the heck restaurants in Westwood looked like and Brentwood looked like 40 years ago?
For the book?
Mm-hmm.
So if it was a location in Pacific Grove or close by, I just go and sketch it. I'd sketch it and then do a finish at home. I didn't bother with a camera. For any of Patricia Hamilton's books, I just go out with my pad and paper and sketch, because that's what I learned. That's what I learned here, you know, from Nancy Johnson. We would go out and sketch and paint and that kind of thing. So sometimes I would use photographs if I couldn't get to the location. So.
Yeah, because my books kind of happen kind of 50% of the time here on the Monterey Peninsula, and another 50% of the time, like half the characters live down in the LA area and the other half live here. So there's a lot of going back and forth between here and LA, and that's where we use the photographs more for the LA locations.
And
Thank you.
Oh, there, off you go. I was raised in LA. I was high school class 66. You were?
I was raised in Santa Monica, yes.
So I knew people. I was at Loyola, Denison North. She was at St. Monica's. So the parishes were kind of mixed up. These we could speculate as to how we both ended up writers, and how Keith has found this therapy and this wonderful ability to render as we try to do as storytellers, get stories out there. So, have we got any more good stuff to get people saying to us? Questions to anybody? Oh, good.
Yeah, I've got a question for the illustrator. Did you ever attend one of the cartoonist conventions here?
Yeah, there were clubs. Yeah, I did. Yeah, there was the Northern California Cartoon Society, and there was also the Southern California Cartoon Club Society that I used to attend because I was in Southern California for a little while. Yeah, I met a lot of the cartoonists, the magazine cartoonists from that belonged. Yeah.
Would they go to a cinema or anything?
No, you know, they met out in Carmel mostly. They had lunches out there, cartoon lunches. And, oh, the cartoon conventions, you know, I'm thinking more or less of the informal lunches that we used to have, rather than the, like, are you saying, something like the one that they have in LA every year, the Comic-Con? Is that what you meant?
No, I've been to Comic-Con before. What I was thinking was Schultz would come down here too. From here.
Yeah.
And that group would meet.
Yeah, and he was in,
Santa Rosa.
yeah, Santa Rosa, and yeah, I almost met him one time because he was there and someone had showed him my work and then he had come over to sit next to me, but I was very shy and so was he. And so we didn't talk, but he was sitting right next to him. And he was just, and there again, he was a very nice, very humble, very good cartoonist, yeah.
Okay.
This was a reenactment of James Joyce meeting Marcel Proust. They didn't speak.
Just wanted to say, I went over to Clarice's house to get an autograph copy some time ago, and I drove down by Lover's Point, and for the first time in my life, I just sat down, a cup of coffee, the book, from start to finish, read it, in one reading. And I have a degree in English. I've read many books, but none of them just caught my imagination from start to finish. So it was an incredible experience. I kept wondering, well, what's going to happen? No, I got to go home. No, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And finally got to the end and said, well worth it. So I just wanted to throw that out. It really caught my attention from start to finish.
It works with the Grow Zone too, because I think that is just so charming. And I mean, you can do it like you're reading Finnegan's Wake. You can just pick up a page and there's some jokes or something get you on. The Grow Zone is a wonderful piece of metaphysics.
Absolutely. So I congratulate both of you.
So
If you like the Twilight Zone, you like my book. Twilight Zone, Prisoner, that kind of thing.
and Crazy Cat, maybe.
Crazy Cat, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's in there.
So we're running through some time. Questions, anybody?
Would you explain that painting again? It was
Yes,
done by-
yes. There's a wonderful woman named Linda Heverin, and she's been working in Art is Healing since she became a cancer survivor. This is a woman that was with Delancey Street in the city, where they were helping, convicts and junkies and all that kind of people, with a much better outcome than you got at Synanon House, where things got kind of creepy. So she was, she had been working first with adults, then with younger people, and then managed to come up with this idea of art is healing for incarcerated youth. And the recidivity rate just shot, because you actually learn how to do something that more of the schools should be doing, real art, etc. So a team of about 8 kids would be working on something like this. She'd work with masks with them as well. That's the whole set of identifying. These are valley kids for the most part, and frequently Hispanics that hadn't even seen the water. So she's got this one, and she's got another whole strut of them of waterways. If you see the book Passion of Place, where they look at the watershed of the Carmel system, she's brought them to see, because you can't really take them out. They're wearing bracelets on their ankles, so they really are locked down. And you turn 18, you're off to juvie hall and cutting a deal, is what happens to these guys. So her ability to keep kids out of jail that go through this stuff have their lives more fulfilling when they're there. And the learning centers, it's sort of like it's a residence hall, but they've decorated the walls of the backyard. It's just a beautiful place. And now, because of COVID and all, that project has come to a close. You get a new director, they've got another vision for things. So it's suspended for now, and she's got to worry about how to get it out. I'm pitching that she goes back into doing art is healing with cancer survivors and older people, and maybe turns it back over to the Arts Council to pick up the $300 a month bill where all these beautiful things are kept. And tracking down all these wonderful kids would take a private company or something to do it. So again, if we want to get them out, this is a wonderful thing to get them out. Where there'll be another one over at
Aldermeyer.
Olden Meyer Center over in Seaside will have one. I'm working on getting the Monterey Elks to take one in that cute little Frank Sinatra Rat Pack corner. And then the American Legion in Monterey has suggested they'd be interested as well. And then my publisher at Foolish Times would think it'd be a really beautiful thing to have something this good in his office.
Well, we had the Elkhorn Sloop,
Yeah,
and we have an accent wall like in my suite where it's red. And the reds really played off that against the wall, and it just fit perfectly. It was definitely made for that. And when you look at something this large, this is hard, I can't do it. And I'm really impressed that, you know, you have a bunch of kids doing this, and these kids aren't from the peninsula. These are kids, as Michael was talking about, are very talented, and I don't want to say it's unfortunate, because we all can trade stories in our youth that we didn't get caught doing. And so it's miraculous and an interesting thing how we look at art in this community, and we need to understand too, there's an incredible undertow off this peninsula of fabulous artists that should get the recognition that Michael is bringing forth here in the peninsula today.
So we're
No problem.
there's there's open mics, there's music, there's lots of good things, but a First Friday Art Walk, PG has a lovely one. The Salinas as well, you know, the other side of the lettuce curtain. We're working with the Carl Cherry Center for the Arts, not foundation, so don't ask them for money. They should be given to them. They'll give us a garden party because they're booked up with exhibits for over a year.
Oh.
But they'll let the readers, the public, the homeless and marginalized readers of this that have published their books could be in there, do some readings. We'll be down in Greenfield for the Harvest Festival, and then in Salinas for 2 days, and then we'll have staff stages there, and we'll also have a stage for the Day of the Dead in Monterey, and we've been getting beautiful support from First Night Monterey, and so the stuff gets into the convention center. So it's a great story that in an age where angst is horrific for teens more than ever, and suicide rates are crazy far up, that, you know, there are really good programs out there where you learn a lifelong skill, and you don't have to be like Keith and end up. Now he's doing model railroad trains. For your first gig to your next to your last. The great circle of life, as we said. So I think we've hit 1 o'clock. If anybody wants to talk to us, fantastic. If anybody wants to get books at a great price, fantastic. The podcasts for these two are on YouTube, and they're by the titles. You know, so it's this one is as we say, Once Upon a Time in Big Sur, read by the Boomtown Rats organizer refers to the biography William B. Yeats collecting folk tales in Ireland, and with Lady Gregory. That's punk. They didn't know what they were doing. They went off and did it. That's us making our podcast. So, thank you for your
The game you
patience.
couldn't shoot straight, but we did it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is the one you learned. Thank you again.